Hi, I'm Rebecca with the Nocturnal. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, I feel like a lot of times we hear the phrase Black people don't play hockey. And one of the things that I loved most about this film is how it sheds a light on people of color who are currently playing and who have played in the past. So, tell me a little bit about what you want viewers to take away from the film when they watch it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of the film is actually exploring that kind of mythology around that. Black people don't play hockey, of haven't contributed to hockey, when it actually couldn't be further from the truth. The Black experience dates back to the actual beginning of hockey, and that's what we uncover in the film is this colored hockey league that existed sort of in 1895. And I think it's true. It's something we don't often think about is Black people playing hockey, but Black people have actually been playing hockey since the beginning up until now. And it's just that contribution we really haven't looked at and seen in the light.
While you were creating this project, what are some things that you learned that you didn't know before the documentary?
Well, there was a few things. I think, besides the league itself existing, I think what I was really surprised at is that contribution, you know, went even before Willie O'Ree, who is the first, Black player to play in the NHL. But there was even stories before that, predating other players, players like Herb Carnegie, who actually Willie says should have played in the National Hockey League before him, and he would have. Herb Carnegie would have actually been kind of like the Jackie Robinson in hockey had he played. He was a center. He would have played in New York around the same time period. And so you just think of like stories like that. It's just these kind of sliding doors. Like if Herb Carnegie had become the first, then who knows, what impact that would have had. But because he didn't, then, we kind of get the league of what it is today. So yeah, there's all sorts of those kind of like discoveries as I was going through the process.
And one of the things that I like the most is how everyone from different generations who have played hockey as a colored person shared their experiences. But it's like all the experiences were so similar. Like
Yeah.
all the stories kind of intertwined with the same kind of experience and judgment and racism that they faced.
Yeah, and I thought that was really important that we understand that racism doesn't work on an individual basis. I think that's a lot of, even though they're all telling individual stories, that we have to look at the collective of these experiences and how they're happening. And if we don't look at it as the bigger picture, the systemic problems, then we actually aren't looking at it the right way, and we can't move forward. And so I thought that was really important to try and yeah, for people to see that, to understand this as one actually common experience.
I'm a huge fan of sports, right? But when it comes to hockey, I don't think about it much, unfortunately. But recently, I've been watching interviews with Charles Barkley and Snoop Dogg and a few others, and they've talked about how much they love hockey and how great of a sport it is. So, how important do you think influential people like them are to exposing communities like Black and Brown communities to this sport?
Yeah, I think you're starting to see a change, in particular in certain areas. Like I noticed, like LA, for example, like Blake Bolden is a who we interview in the film. She's the first female Black NHL scout. And Anthony DeClaire, who plays for the Florida Panthers, yeah, again another outspoken, pushing for diversity in the sport, in the spaces and the communities they live in, to see that reflection. And I think why it's important is because they're sharing the love for something. I think all sports are so unique, and I think hockey is probably one of the more unique sports out there. You don't have to know how to skate. There's a whole thing to it. And I think they just want that young people to come in and be able to have that experience, the same thing that how they were shown it. And so yeah, I think it's hugely important, for those people and influence to be able to kind of share it with young people.
For me, like I live in New Jersey and we only have one sports team, which is the New Jersey Devils for hockey.
Yeah.
So when they were in the playoffs and everything like that, everybody was talking about it and making it such a big deal. And then like I mentioned, I saw the interview with Snoop Dogg trying to get ownership of a hockey team. So I'm like, let me watch a game or two. And I'm like, this is actually very interesting. And I'm kind of mad that I'm just now really experiencing that now, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because it's yeah, you're right. Because it was kind of presented to you as something that wasn't necessarily for you. But when you go in, even the experience of me making a documentary, like I went into the Toronto Maple Leafs because Wayne Simmonds was playing, and we got to shoot behind the scenes and all that. And it was a blast. I had so much fun, and we watched the game, and got to go in the locker room after, and I could see the love for it because it is such a team sport, right? Like everyone's in it together. There's a real camaraderie behind them. There's this kind of gladiator kind of thing. And yeah, I think it'd be great. And there are some spaces like that. Like there's another league, the women's league, the Toronto Six, where it's a much more inclusive environment, and it's great. Like it's a great place to come and bring your family and watch the games. And I think there could be more spaces like that for sure.
I definitely agree. And I also want to say congratulations because the film did premiere at the 2022 Toronto International Film Festival and you won the People's Choice documentary. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And seeing how receptive people have been to the film, what are you looking forward to when the film exclusively releases in AMC theaters on July 14th?
Yeah, I'm just hoping they get some of that same experience that we had at the Toronto Film Festival, where it was just great to see people coming together again, coming into the theater to watch something and have like a shared experience. I loved it, and that's what we made it for. We really aimed to go to the Toronto Film Festival as our launch, and so to have it as a theatrical experience. And so when AMC came on board, it was just like a dream come true, because especially in documentaries, you don't often get that platform. But we really made it with that in mind, to sit in a theater, enjoy it, and have that experience of being there, and make it a visual experience for you, not just two people sitting down and talking head documentary, but something that was a bit more involved, or that you get a connection with.
And I loved how like all the moving pieces from like you have the natural sounds, but then you also have the talking like heads, and then you have the people talking and the video going over. Like I just loved how the entire movie flowed, because like it was entertaining but informative all at the same time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying that. That was the goal: is how do you keep it moving and keep that entertainment, and yet still take something away from it at the same time.
I definitely agree. So tell me what it was like for you when adapting the book Black Ice to the documentary.
It was interesting, because I think it gave you like a framework, like when I read the book and understood, and so when I did the first interviews with the writers of the book, you could kind of see what they were trying to do, and information, and then try and figure out how to work that within the structure of our documentary. Because in our film, obviously we have current stories, and then we're placing that with theirs. So it was good as a filmmaker. I think it really helps to have a framework of work that's already been done, of research, so you're not starting from scratch, but more building on something. So for me, it was great. It was just a matter of what we could keep in and what we had to take out. I think of the process, that was the hardest part.
And my final question is, in your opinion, what do you feel like needs to be done to make hockey feel like a little more inclusive and like limit the lack of representation and the systemic racism commonly associated with the game?
Yeah, I think that's a big question. Like at the end of the film, we leave it with the players themselves, like the Wayne Simmonds, Soroya, Akim, they all run their camps or youth camps. And what they're trying to do is get more young people into the sport, from a grassroots level. And I think that's part of it, but I think it falls more on the bigger picture of how do we how do we solve the systemic problems that we know exist within hockey? And that can only come, I think, from organizations. And I think it's putting in policy. Like without policy, nothing will actually change, because it's like you have to do the anti-racism work in, you know, that there's a problem. Like I think I hope the film establishes that there's clearly a pretty giant problem in the sport. So you need to do that work to change the policy from the top. But the problem is, if the people at the top don't want it to change or are fighting that change, then it doesn't matter what you're doing at the grassroots. So it's like both those things actually have to happen at the same time. But I think we're seeing the grassroots level. We're just not seeing it at the organizational level yet.
Definitely. And I feel like, especially with films like this, when you put a spotlight on the issue, I feel like that's going to force and promote change. So I definitely think all of it is going to come together soon, hopefully.
Oh, well, thank you. We're trying to do a small part, but yeah, definitely. Yeah. And yeah, thank you for helping put the word out there.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Yes, anytime.